Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, we hope you are all well and safe. We are very glad to welcome you to this webinar regarding the IPA4SME service implementation for beneficiaries of the 7th and 8th cutoffs. My name is Rassami Couturier and I am project manager at Gopacom, a communications agency in Brussels that is partner in the IPA4SME consortium. Today, our webinar presenter will be Mr. Marco Graziado from CARSA, the IPA4SME consortium leader. So during the webinar, please do not hesitate to write your questions in the question box. Your questions will be addressed at the end of the presentations by Marco. For any specific questions, they will be followed up individually by email by the IPA4SME Coordination Center. Last but not least, we would like to remind you that please do not forget to activate the IPA4SME services before the 26th of March for cutoff 7 and before the month of July for the cutoff 8. The exact date for cutoff 8 will be confirmed soon, so please check our website regularly. Enjoy the webinar. Marco, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rassami, for this nice presentation, and hello to everybody, and welcome aboard of IPA4SME, especially for the small medium enterprise who has been awarded the support services within cutoff call 8. My name is Marco Zaddio, innovation consultant working from CARSA, who is also the coordination center of this project. And I'm glad to be here today with you to explain how to proceed in order to benefit the most from the IPA4SME support services in an easy and efficient way. So for today's presentation, I will use the guide we designed for the cutoff call date. Please consider that this guide is also available for you as a beneficiary on our main website, but you also received this guide the last 4 March 2021 during the communication of email. Additionally, the last week we sent you by email 3 mini guides that we decided to draft for you in order to boost our efforts. Before starting with the presentation, please keep in mind that the idea behind this program is that the European Commission strongly believes that the protection of intellectual properties is crucial for promoting innovation and for improving the small-medium competitiveness in Europe and abroad Europe. For these reasons, the main goal of this program is to facilitate and promote the use of intellectual property. And to do it, we basically offer you financial and expert support for boosting the business strategy in terms of intellectual properties, but also to help you to register your patents. Can receive support within this program only small medium enterprise which have received a seal of excellence from the Horizon 2020 Small Medium Enterprise Instrument Program. So we can start with analyze together the guide for beneficiary. Please keep in mind that I will try to take in consideration, taking into account only the most important information. Then my strong recommendation is to take your time to read in detail this guide. So in case you have some doubts or uncertainties, you can always contact us and we will be here and happy to help you to answer to all your questions. So as general condition introduction, I would like to emphasize that especially for the small medium enterprise who have been awarded to receive more than one service, beneficiary is not forced to follow any particular order in completing the service, which means that you can use of all the services awarded in parallel or one after the other. So in case you as a company that, for example, has been awarded with service 1, 2, and 3, you can start to benefit from service 3 even if you did not benefit from service 1 and service 2. This is extremely important for all the beneficiary who has been awarded service 1, which is the IP pre-diagnostic service. Also in this case, you can start to benefit from service 2 and service 3, even if you did not complete yet the IP pre-diagnostic service. However, my strong recommendation, especially for the company who has been awarded with service 1, is to complete this service as soon as possible, because one of the goals of this service is to provide you advice in order to understand if it's convenient or not to register a patent. So the use of EMS. Please keep in mind that all the support services will be managed through the IPA4SME electronic submission system, also named simply as EMS. Beneficiary can access to their services awarded by logging into EMS and then visiting My Project section under the Man Area menu. Once you have been selected as a beneficiary, a private space will be enabled in EMS. Such space is accessible again logging on EMS and then by clicking My Project. Once you click on My Project, a table having the beneficiary name, the cutoff date, and the support action granted will be displayed. Beneficiary, once here, will have to click on Go to Support Documentation under the Action column, because once click on here, you will find a new section, one in which, especially for the company has been awarded with Service 2 or Service 3, this is the only space where you have to upload documentation in order to receive the reimbursement. So once you click on Go to Support Documentation, you will find a specific place called Support Documentation that, as you can read in our guide, is a place specifically designed for you as a beneficiary to upload only the required documentation that support the subsequent reimbursement. So during the entire process, please keep in mind that beneficiary will be asked to complete a series of surveys as a part of your award. As you can see in the following table, table 1, the list of the surveys and the time frame is included. As you can see, as a beneficiary, you have to complete surveys before and after the completion of your support services. The first survey you must to complete is the IPA4SME self-assessment, which is mandatory to complete before you can start to benefit from any of the services awarded. So please consider that in case you did not complete yet, this is the first step you must complete if you want to benefit from one of our support services. The link to complete this survey is included in the first email you received from us, the last for March 2020. This is the email where we, the coordination center, basically notified you as regard to the services awarded. The guide, as you can see, also provide a brief description of the service and their scope. We can start so with the presentation of the different services we provided you within IPA4SME program, and for each of the services I will also describe you which are the steps you have to follow in order to activate to benefit from them. So service 1, also called IP pre-diagnostic service and sometimes IP scanning, is a service focused on providing you a comprehensive IP diagnostic service in order to boost your capabilities and competencies in terms of intellectual property. We consider this service as a best and great opportunity for you to count on a qualified expert in the field of intellectual properties and business strategy, with the aim at identifying both the advantage and the potential opportunities of using intellectual properties for further develop your businesses. Thanks to this service, beneficiaries will have the opportunity additionally to identify the main limitation and area of development to strengthen your competencies always in the field of intellectual properties and foster your business competitiveness. So, the workflow of Service 1, as you can see in the guide, consists of 5 main steps. The first step, that is the same for Service 1, Service 2, Service 3, is the competition of IPA4SME self-assessment, without which the service, again, cannot begin. Once you complete this survey, the coordination center will facilitate the initial contact between the beneficiary and the expert. As regard to the designation of the IP pre-diagnostics expert, please keep in mind that the process will differ slightly depending on the beneficiary country. Therefore, for all those small medium enterprises located in countries such as Austria, Denmark, France, Netherlands, and Spain, the expert will be assigned to you directly by the national IP office. In this respect, will be directly the national IP office to contact you and to assign you an expert. So in this case, once we collected your IPA4SME self-assessment, we contact the national IP office asking them to assign an expert. Instead, for all those small medium enterprises located in countries like Greece, Latvia, Ireland, Italy, and Sweden, and also Germany, is the coordination center in charge of providing you a list of experts, but in the majority of the case, we assigned you directly an expert. The reason why we decided to move from providing you a list of experts or directly a name is due to the outbreak of the virus, because nowadays the majority of the IP diagnostic services are conducted by application like Skype or Zoom, while before the outbreak of the virus, the majority of the case, the IP diagnostic service was conducted face-to-face. But nowadays, since a lot of people doesn't feel comfortable to meet the expert physically, we decided to provide you directly a name rather than a list of experts. So also in this case, the majority of the company already received an email from the coordination center of the IPA4SME program with the name of the expert, and the expert usually is included in copy. The only small medium enterprise that did not receive this email yet are the small medium enterprises located in Sweden. As regard to this company, please keep in mind that within this week we will send you also an email with information as regard to the expert assigned to you. Once the expert has been assigned or chosen, beneficiary can start to schedule a possible meeting for the implementation of the service. As I said before, in this respect, I would like to emphasize to inform you that it is not a mandatory to schedule a face-to-face meeting. So please keep in mind that you can feel free to move for a Skype call rather than a physical meeting. This is already happened during the last 1 year, and what its results or what it appears is that the majority of the company, they were really satisfied to receive the IP diagnostic service, even if conduct virtually. So once you schedule a possible meeting, the IP diagnostic service can start. As you can see in the guide, it consists of the following main step. there is a first initial analysis of your environment, and to do it, the expert will conduct a desk research about your environment, but also she will use the information included in the IPA4SME self-assessment. This is also one of the reasons why it's really important to complete it. Then there is, let's call a visit and interview, where the expert will conduct an interview with you that should last between 2 and 4 hours. And as you can see, the interview can be conducted in person or via video teleconferences. And then there is the final result, where basically the expert will deliver you the results of the complete analysis in a confidential report and explain you the suggestion either in person or via video teleconferences. As regards to the report, again, please keep in mind that it's confidential, so you are the only one that you will receive these results. In the report, you are going to mainly obtain information as regards a clear diagnostic of your business in terms of intellectual properties, but also a clear overview of the opportunities and the limitations to foster and boost the intellectual properties and exploit possible benefits. In the guide, you will also find in chapter 3.2 additional information on what expecting by the IP pre-diagnostic service. But again, please keep in mind that this service is mainly focused on the business strategy adopted by your company in order to boost and exploit intellectual properties, which means that the IP pre-diagnostic service is not focused on the invention, but just on the business strategy. Other important information as regard to the IP diagnostic service is that first, the service one is totally free of charge, which means that all the costs will be supported by the coordination center, and this is one of the reasons why the expert is assigned by us or by the National IP Office, since we reached with them an agreement as regard to the cost. So please keep in mind that the IP diagnostic service can be implemented only through one of the experts assigned to you. Other important information is that with regard to the meeting will be only one. For this reason, usually can take between 2 and 4 hours. So before to schedule a possible meeting, please take in consideration that the expert will need this time to conduct an in-depth interview. We can now move on the two co-financing service, because as you know, within IPA4SME, we offer an expert support, but also two co-financing service. The first co-financing service I'm going to discuss with you is Service 2, also renamed Partial Reimbursement of European Office Fees. So within Service 2, is basically focused or aimed on providing you financial support, economic support, to cover a percentage of European patent fee. Please consider that, and this is extremely important, that both Service 2 and Service 3, our support exclusively covers European patent registration process, which for the purpose of IPA4SME is defined as filing an application for a patent before the EPO covering more than 2 European member states. We consider eligible in this frame also PCT patent or international patent, but are considered eligible only if the registration process is done through the EPO, which means that, again, cost for IP protection in country abroad Europe, such as, for example, USA, China, Brazil, and so on, will not be covered within Service 2 and Service 3. Again, our support exclusively covers European patent process. Through Service 2, as beneficiary, you can receive the 75% of the reimbursement of the 75% of the IPO fee cost, up to a maximum of euro 2,500 per single patent application. Each candidate, small medium enterprise, can request a maximum of 5 co-financing patent application. So, how is work Service 2 and how you can benefit from it, I will explain you now. So, what you have to understand is that first, as you can see, the workflow of Service 2 consists of 5 main steps. The step that I personally consider the most important is the activation of the service. The reason why is that what you have to understand as a beneficiary is that being awarded with Service 2 or Service 3 does not mean that the service is activated. To activate the service as a beneficiary, you must provide us within 4 months of the date of the communication of the services award valid documentation. You have to do it through the EMS portal. Valid documentation consists of an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment, which must meet specific requirements that will be discussed soon. So let's go to take a look to the time frame. So as you can see in the following slide, there is a specific time frame you have to respect, where basically as a beneficiary of the cutoff call 8, you received a communication of the services awarded the last 4 March 2021. From that day, you will have 4 months to activate Service 2. And as I said before, activate Service 2 means to provide us through EMS portal at least one valid invoice from an IP patent attorney, or as we will see later on, a valid IPO debit order submission confirmation together with the corresponding proof of payment. Only once you provided us this documentation and only once we validate this documentation, the Service 2 can be considered activated. And once the service is activated, you will have until the end of the IPA4SME project, which is the 31 December 2021, to make a second request for reimbursement. So once you activate the service, along with receive a fast request, fast reimbursement, you will also unlock the service, which means that you will have until the end of the project to make to provide us documentation for a second request for reimbursement. As regard to the second request for reimbursement, please keep in mind that the documentation that you are providing us must be always associated to the same patent invention through which you activate the service. If a beneficiary does not activate the service to award within 4 months, the support will be automatically cancelled. Beneficiaries have been please keep in mind that in case we will cancel your service, you may reapply to the IPA4SME open call without any kind of penalization. However, and this is only to the beneficiary who has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3, please keep in mind that if you have been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 from the same cutoff call date, the activation of Service 2, but also as we will see later on, the activation of Service 3 will automatically extend the time for the activation of the other service by an additional 4 months. Talking practically, this means that in case, for example, I am the company Carsa who has been awarded with Service 2 and Service 3 within the same cutoff call 8, First, as a company, as a beneficiary, I received an email the last 4th of March with the coordination center notified me that has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3. From that day, I will have until the 4th of July to activate one of the two services, Service 2 or Service 3, and in case I will be able to activate Service 2, for example, along with receive a first reimbursement and along with unlock the Service 2, I will have also automatically additionally 4 months to provide documentation to activate Service 3, which means that I will have until the 4th November 2021 to activate Service 3. As we will see later on, this time frame is valid also for Service 3, which means that if, for example, I activate Service 3 within the first 4 months, I will have directly, automatically, additionally 4 months to activate Service 2, which is the missing one. So, how to activate the service? So, as I said to you before, activate the service means to provide us within the deadline valid documentation. Valid documentation usually are invoiced together with the corresponding proof of payment. However, as regard to Service 2, there can be, let's say, two possible situations. Situation A is when the EPO patent registration is made directly by an IP patent attorney on behalf of the beneficiary company. However, can be also the situation B, that is when the EPO patent registration has been made directly by the beneficiary company without hiring any IP patent attorney. So, in case you decide to move through situation A, which means hire a patent attorney to register your patent, to be reimbursed, you have to provide us with at least one valid invoice issued from an IP patent attorney, together with the corresponding proof of payment. To be considered valid Service 2 reimbursed, the invoice must be dated after the date of the communication of award, which means that the invoice must be dated after the 4th March 2021, and then the invoice must contain the following information. The invoice must contain information as regards the name of the patent attorney who provided you the service. The invoice must contain information as regards the patent application process, namely the title of the invention or the IP number being protected, and also the invoice must contain information as regards to the EPO services or the PCT services requested during the filing process. As regards to the EPO services, please note that the invoice must clearly state which EPO fee or PCT fee were covered, since only the EPO fees included in the table 2 are considered eligible for reimbursement under the IPA4SME program. Therefore, in case you provide us an invoice which not contain information as regards which clearly state which EPO fee were covered during the filing process, this kind of invoice will never be taken into account to be reimbursed. So, instead, in case you decide to register an EPO patent or PCT patent by yourself, to be reimbursed as a beneficiary, you have to provide us always through EMS the PDF document of the debit order submission confirmation released from the EPO online filing software. In this respect, to qualify the reimbursement, the EPO debit order submission confirmation must be always issued after the date of the communication of award, which again is the 4 March 2021, only for the beneficiary awarded within cutoff call 8. And the EPO debit order submission confirmation must also include information such as the patent application process and the EPO services code covered during the registration. So, in both situations, which means activate service 2, register your patent, through situation A, through situation B, beneficiary along with provide us or an invoice issued by the IP attorney or the EPO debit form, you have also to provide us proof that the IP patent attorney invoice or the EPO debit order submission confirmation has been paid before the partial reimbursement can occur. As regards the proof of payment, please keep in mind that we can accept only bank transfer receipts, which contain information as regards to the beneficiary, the name of the beneficiary, the invoice number, and the IP patent attorney in case you decide to move to situation A. Also, in this case, it's really important that the date of the payment must be after the date of the communication of IPA4SME support. So, briefly, to request a partial reimbursement within service 2, beneficiaries are simply requested to upload all the documentation necessary to activate the service as a single PDF or zip file through EMS. Therefore, and sorry to be repetitive, but I prefer, we have, as regard to service 2, two situations. Situation A, which is in case the PO patent registration is made by an IP patent attorney on behalf of the beneficiary. In this case, please provide us in a single PDF or zip file a valid invoice and the corresponding proof of payment. However, in case you decide to register the patent by yourself, in this case, please upload through EMS a single PDF or zip file containing the debit order submission confirmation and the corresponding proof of payment. Once the reimbursement has been, this document has been uploaded as the coordination sender, we will revise them, and in case the documentation meets all the requirements discussed, only in this case the service can be considered activated. And once it's activated, you will receive the first partial reimbursement. Once the reimbursement has been received from the IPA4SME coordination center, the last step will be to upload a signed confirmation using a model provided in the support documentation section of EMS. The model will be available automatically each time the beneficiary makes a reimbursement request. So we complete the description of service 2. We will now move on the description of service 3. So together with service 1 and service 2, within IPA4SME program, we also offer another useful service, which is named usually as service 3, but also partial reimbursement of IP attorney fee, where the aim of this service is basically is to cover the cost for hiring an IP patent attorney for the purpose of preparing the filing for a European patent. The financial support within service 2-3 will aim at covering the 50% of the cost incurred up to a maximum of euro 2,000 per single patent application. Also, in this case, as we said before, our support exclusively covers European patent registration process or PCT patent. as regard to service 3, as you can see by yourself, the workflow is similar to service 2, and is also similar the time frame. Also, in this case, as you can see, you will have 4 months to activate the service. Activate service means provide us valid documentation that in this case will be only an invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. Once activate the service, you will have until the 31 December 2021 to provide us documentation for a second payment reimbursement. Again, the second payment reimbursement, the documentation must be the same, should be associated to the same patent application through which you activate the service. In case you don't provide us documentation within 4 months, the services will be automatically cancelled, and then just in case you has been awarded with both service 2 and service 3 during the same cut-off call date, just in this case, you will have the possibility to an extension, a service extension, which means that in case you will activate service 2 or service 3 in time, we will automatically provide you, given you additional 4 months to activate the missing service. So an easy example again, Carsa Company activate the service 3 before the 4th July 2021, along with receive a first person reimbursement, the coordination center will give me also additionally 4 months to activate the missing service, that in the example will be service 2. So let's go to the step-by-step process. As regard to service 3, the step involved in activating and receiving the reimbursement for service 3 are the following. First of all, the IPA4SME self-assessment, which must be completed by you as soon as possible, following the communication of the support award. As regard to the IPA4SME self-assessment, I would like to emphasize that in case you have been awarded with more than one service, we kindly ask you to complete the IPA4SME self-assessment only one time, which means that if you have been awarded, for example, with service 1, 2, and 3, you should not complete the IPA4SME self-assessment 3 times. Only one time is fine, enough and sufficient for us. Then, once you complete the IPA4SME self-assessment, you can start to benefit from service 3, and the next step will be the activation of the service 3. To activate service 3, again, as I said before, you have to provide us a valid IP patent attorney invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. As regard to the valid IP patent attorney invoice, beneficiary can only be reimbursed once they have at least one valid invoice from an IP patent attorney entitled to act before the EPO, and also the invoice must be dated after the date of the communication of award. Additionally, to qualify the reimbursement, the invoice must contain information as regard to the name of the patent attorney, information as regard to the title of the invention or the IP being protected, and when possible, the invoice must also contain information as regard the EPO patent application number. However, as you can see in this guide, and as I said before, I said that only when it is possible, because within service 3, we also consider reimbursable the cost associated to a patent attorney, even in the case you decided for a specific reason to discontinue the patent application process. In this case, since you decide to discontinue the patent application process, you will never gain the EPO patent application number, and this is the reason why I say when it's possible. So please keep in mind that even if you decide to discontinue the patent application process, also in this case, we will reimburse you the cost for a patent attorney. In the case you decide to discontinue a patent application process, please keep in mind that you have to complete a model statement, and the model statement is provided in Annex 1 of this guide. Together with the invoice to activate the service, again, we have also to provide us the corresponding proof of payment. And as I said before, we can accept only bank transfer receipt, which clearly indicate the name of the beneficiary, the IP patent attorney, and the invoice number. All in this case, the document will be accepted. To request, so once you have the document, to request a partial reimbursement, you simply need to upload in a single PDF or zip file both document invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment through EMS. Once we validate the documentation, all in that case, you can consider service 3 activate. Also in this case, once we will activate the service, you will receive a first partial reimbursement as soon as possible. Once you receive this amount of money, we kindly ask you to confirm it through EMS that you receive the money or the reimbursement. In this case, as we said, we see before, a model will be provided automatically by you, by the coordination center. And you have just to complete and then upload it on the EMS. So, final important rules for the payment request. There are some rules that you have to understand. The most important one is that the key basic IPA4SME univocal correspondences is that every application will be for a unique European patent, which means that, in other words, when we select an application submitted by you, this is just for one single patent. So, in case, as a company, you have several patent application process for which you opt to receive financial support, please keep in mind that to receive financial support, you may then submit several IPA4SME applications as many times as the number of patents for which you want to receive financial support. I will repeat this again with an example. If I have the company CARSA, and if I applied only one times, I can receive financial support only for a single patent application. Let's say that the patent application is called Marco. So in this case, if I applied only one time, I can receive financial support only for the patent Marco. However, in case I have two patents, patent Marco and let's say patent Rassami, in this case, if I want to receive financial support for both patents, I must apply two different times. So I should submit two different applications. The application can be submitted during the same cutoff call or in different one. But again, each application is associated to one single patent. Therefore, if you provided us invoices, more than one invoices, which are related to different patent application, we are sorry, but we cannot validate them. So again, really important, one application, one patent. Then other important rules. Once you upload the documentation, in both cases, which means either if we validate it or not, you will receive an email by the coordination center, which will notify you as regard to the last results. So please keep in mind that even if you don't, the documentation you uploaded is not valid, also in this case you will receive an email from us where basically we inform you that we did not validate the documentation. When it's possible, we will also provide you advice, or we will also explain you what it is missing in order to validate the documentation. Please keep in mind that our scope is to validate as much as possible reimbursement. So we usually are here to help you in any problem that you are facing. Then another important information as regard to the support service cancellation procedure, because in case you decide you not wish to make use of one or more of the support services, we kindly ask you to communicate your decision to the coordination center in order that we can deactivate your services awarded. In this case, you will not receive specific email as regard to this service. Because usually during the period of the cutoff call, you can receive reminder from us as regards specific information. If you decide to cancel a service, we will directly cancel your email associated to the specific service. You will, in this case, avoid to receive a reminder even if you are not interested on them. So as regard to the guide I finished, before move to take in consideration the possible question, I would like to emphasize that I prepared for you a PowerPoint presentation where I collected the most frequently asked the question, and we will use this presentation to summarize again together the most important information as regard to the IPA4SME. I hope you can see my new screen. Rasami, if you are online, please let me know if you can see.
Yes, I can see.
Thank you very much,
Fine.
Rasami, for your great
Welcome.
collaboration. We can start. Okay, so as I said before, I prepared this presentation for you, where basically I collected the most frequently asked questions. Just the role is just to summarize again together the most important information of this project. So question number one, if there is any time limitation for justifying an EPO and an IP patent attorney fee after a small medium enterprise has been selected for support under the IPA4SME? Yes, there is a specific time frame. The one that you are seeing now is the time frame of cutoff call 7. I prefer to use this one since maybe there are also company from the previous cutoff call, but the rules are equal for all the companies. However, as you can see, as we said different times, beneficiary must activate the support services within 4 months of the date of the communication of award. Once activate, you will have until the end of the IPA4SME program or project to make a second request for reimbursement. If a beneficiary does not activate the service, award within 4 months, the support will be automatically cancelled. However, in case as a beneficiary has been awarded with both Service 2 and Service 3 from the same cutoff call date, the activation of either of the support services will automatically extend the time for the activation of the other service by an additional 4 months. So, as I said before, as regard to cutoff call 8, you receive a communication of the award services the last for March, which means that you will have until the 4th of July to activate your service. While in case you have a beneficiary awarded within Service 7, you receive a communication of award the last 25 November 2020, which means that you will have until the 25 of this month to activate the service. Activate the service, as I said before, means provide us a invoice together with the corresponding proof of payment. Question number 2. I am already working with an IP patent attorney. Are his or cost reimbursable? This is a question regarding Service 3. So for IP patent attorney fee to be reimbursed, as I said before, the person issuing the invoice must be a professional entitled to act before the EPO, who has been hired by you for the purpose of preparing the filing of a European patent, but or at least a PCT patent being done through the EPO. As regard to the professional entitled to act before the EPO, please don't be worried about it, because at least the 95% of the patent firm, at least they work for them at least one person entitled to act before the IPO. So in case, for example, the person in charge to following you in the registration process is not a person to entitled to act before the IPO, in this case, what I recommend you is to talk with him or her, and when he or she will provide you the invoice, please ask him or her to include the name of a person working from the same patent firm but entitled to act before the IPO. To check if the person following you is a person entitled to act before the IPO, please keep in mind that a list of eligible IP patent attorney can be found at page 20 of our guide for beneficiary, or at the following links. Before forgetting, please keep in mind that at the end of this presentation, we will send you by email again the guide, but also the link to follow me again, but also this presentation. So in case you will not be able to find the link to check if the patent attorney is entitled or not before the IPO on the guide, you can directly find the link to this presentation. Then question number 3, are all type of patents eligible to be subject of IPA4SME support? The answer is not, because as I said before, our support exclusively covers European patent registration process, which for the purpose of IPA4SME is defined as filing an application for a patent before the IPO, covering more the 2 European member states. This means that cost for IP protection in countries like China, USA, and all the countries abroad Europe will not be covered. Additionally, please keep in mind that we cannot cover the cost for national registration at the national phase, because again, we can consider cost reimbursable only if we decide to register a patent, a European patent. Then question number 4, what if a service tree beneficiary, small medium enterprise, does not have a IPO patent application number yet? In this case, it can be the case that as a beneficiary you are still in the process to register your patent, which means that you did not yet collect the IPO application number yet. In this case, if you want to qualify the reimbursement, you can, without any kind of problem, provide us an invoice containing just the information as regard to the name of the patent attorney and the title of the invention. This information will be enough for us. Question number 5, if there is any specific order for the service implementation. In other words, if awarded with service 1, 2, and 3, do the small medium enterprises have to wait until the end of the IP diagnostic is finished to start benefiting from the partial reimbursement? The answer is not, because there is not a mandatory order for the implementation of the service. So you should not wait the end of the IP diagnostics to start benefiting from the 2 co-financing services. However, it's strongly recommended to plan a meeting with the experts for the implementation of the service 1 as soon as possible, in order to obtain a clear overview of your current situation, opportunities, and limitation, to foster the benefit of the patent. This information may be useful but not essential to complete service 2 and service 3, and therefore to start activating this service. But again, as I said before, and as you can see, there is not a mandatory order in the completion of the service. You can benefit from the service even if you start from service 3. What is service activation? Service activation is only as regard to service 2 and service 3, because as I said before, being awarded with service 2 and service 3 does not mean that the services are active. Activate as service means to provide us within 4 months of the date of the communication valid documentation. You have to provide us the documentation through EMS, and the valid documentation consists of an invoice and the corresponding proof of payment. Both documents must meet specific requirements included in the guide, which has also the requirement discussed today with you. Question number 7. I will skip this question because, again, you will receive this guide at the end of this webinar. The only things I would like to emphasize again is to recommend to carefully read the guide for beneficiary in detail. Then, question number 8, is VAT subject for reimbursement? Please keep in mind that no, the VAT costs are not taken into account for the reimbursement calculation. Then, in case you have some doubts, uncertainties, or you need help, please keep in mind that the IPA4SME Coordination Center has put at your disposal the following 2 emails. You can always contact us on call@IPA4SME.eu, but you can also contact us at helpdesk@IPA4SME.eu. When it's possible, we will try to do our best to answer you between 24 48 hours. Sometimes, however, I am honest, we can have some delay in answering you because it depends on the number of emails we receive daily. Sometimes we receive more than 100 emails, and physically speaking, it's really hard to follow all of them. However, in case you see that you did not receive any answer within 5 days, what I recommend you is to send again an email, because sometimes can also happen that the email will be sent in the spam box, which means that we will never take into consideration this email. So again, in case you will not receive any answer within 5 days, please send us again an email. In this case, please send the email to both emails provided. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. The consortium consists by CARSA, Università di Alicante, and Gova.com. Thank you very much for following me. Again, Marco Laziadio, the innovation consultant from CARSA, who is now going to take into account the different questions I received during this presentation. First of all, I hope that everything was clear. So let's go. Just give me a second to drink a little bit of water and then. So let's start with the question. First question from Mr. Anderson. Who asking me how long time does it take before we are informed about the assigned expert after the self-assessment has been filled? We are located in Denmark. Mr. Anderson, we send, usually the process is working like this. You complete the self-assessment. Once or 2 days per week, we go to check which IPA4SME self-assessment has been completed. In case you completed it, we take it and we send to the National IP office in this case. Then the National IP office will send you as soon as possible information as regard to the expert assigned to you. What I would like to add is that today is one of the days that we collected the IPA4SME self-assessment. So I can tell you that at 1 o'clock, around 1 o'clock, I sent the IPA4SME self-assessment to the National IP office, among which the Danish National IP office. So I hope that your IPA4SME was included in this email, and I hope that the National IP office will contact you as soon as possible. However, in case you see that in 7 days, 2 weeks, you did not receive any communication from the National IP office, what you have to do in this case is to contact us at one of the two emails provided you before, asking, explaining us what is going to happen. In this case, we contact the National IP Office, asking them to provide you immediate information as regard to the expert. Question from Mr. Baltrunas, who is asking me, my country is not listed neither in expert assigned by National IP Office, not in the expert assigned by the Coordination Center list. What will be the procedure? Mr. Baltrunas, please keep in mind that the Service 1, not all the countries in Europe can benefit from Service 1. Only those countries listed in the guide are the country which can benefit from Service 1, which means that if you don't see your country in the list, means that your country, unfortunately, did not reach an agreement with the European Commission as regard to the IP Pre-diagnostic service. So in this case, you cannot benefit from Service 1, but you can only benefit from Service 2 and Service 3. However, if you can text me on the chat which is your country, we can check if you are eligible or not to benefit from Service 1. Question from Eloy Martinez. Are two questions from Eloy Martinez. The first question is regard to the guide. I will send you the guide later on. Again, you can also find the guide on our main on IPA4SME website. I think the guide should be also included in the communication of the award you received the last 25 November, but don't worry, I will send you later on of this webinar. Then Mr. Thomas Baltrunas, I'm sorry, Lithuania is not included in, Lithuania is not a country can benefit from Service 1. So again, you can also benefit from Service 2 and Service 3. Then another question from Marina Milovanov, who asking me, what does it mean Service 3 reimbursement are limited to 2 requests? What if we have many invoices of the attorney for the same EPO? We can upload only 2 of them? No, the answer is not. How is work our service? I will try to explain. Service 2 and Service 3 is true, are limited to 2 requests of reimbursement. But the request of reimbursement does not mean that you can provide us only 2 invoices. In fact, there is a limitation on the number of invoices you can provide us. So, for example, as a CARSA company, for example, I can request a first reimbursement by uploading 2 invoices, which must be associated to the same patent invention. And then maybe once activated, I can upload a 3rd invoice later on. The reason why is that usually the registration process can take more than 3-4 months, especially nowadays that we are in the middle of fighting a virus. So in this case, many times, but also for different reasons, rather than receive only 1 single invoice containing all the costs, which are official cost, EPO official cost, and legal cost, companies can decide to split, to divide the cost in several invoices. So maybe you can receive a first invoice regarding the preliminary study of the patents, or maybe you can receive another invoice. However, you can decide to divide the cost in several invoices. So in this case, if, for example, you have in possession 4 different invoices, you can decide to upload the first 2 during the first reimbursement and the second 2 in the second reimbursement. The only things we have to understand that the service reimbursement are limited to 2 requests, which again is not associated to the number of the invoices you can upload. You are free to upload as many invoices as you have in your possession in the first reimbursement request or in the second one. This was the last question. Mr. Martinez, don't be worried. I should have your email. Just give me a second. I'm going to check now. In order to take notes and to be sure we have your email. So I took your email. This was the last question received. I really hope that everything was clear. And again, welcome on board of this project. We will enjoy a lot the time together. And again, if you have any doubts, uncertainties, or whatever, please read the guide first and then contact us. We are here to help you. Thank you very much for your patience, and I hope you and your family are well, and keep in touch. Bye.